Podcast Editor here. How are you going to get the most out of your year? Well, today, Dan and Lloyd are kicking it off by discussing their objectives and what they intend to get out of another journey around the sun.
Trying to keep it really simple this year. Because when I said last year, one of mine was plant 1 million trees, and I had absolutely no idea how I would do that.
And didn't do anything about it.
And, I would have to have hundreds of thousands of pounds to do it.
Funnily enough, you didn't achieve that one.
I didn't achieve it.
We'll look at the do's and don'ts of setting objectives, along with actionable steps you can take to ensure they don't wind up buried in your day-to-day schedule.
Think of at least one goal and write it down and stick it somewhere that you're going to see it, because you're going to see it every day and you're going to...
You have to actively take that down if you don't want to see it every day.
So what can you do to level up your New Year's resolution? Stay tuned to find out. Right, let's get stuck in. This is episode 77 of the Business Anchors podcast.
We're just a couple of business anchors. Welcome to the Business Anchors podcast. This jingle is slightly too long. This jingle is slightly too long.
So Lloyd, what does success look like for you in 2022 and our amazing new podcast set in lovely comfy brown chairs?
I feel pretty successful sitting in this brown leather chair. Or it might not be leather. Might be fake leather.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully for the vegans out there. Success. Do you want the real answer or the more complicated, the less complicated answer that sounds better?
Both.
Okay. I think the real answer is that success for me is still quite messy in my head for what, you want to go into the new year like, new year, new me. Here are my 4 goals that are incredibly organised, and I'm going to be at the end of the year and I'm going to be the best person ever. I don't think I'm personally at that stage at the moment, but I've got some ideas. And
there's nothing wrong with that.
We'll talk that through, Dan, because I think from what I've spoken to you about, I think you're far more organised this year in your, well, from my point of view so far, in what you see as success and that kind of thing. But we'll see.
The reason I wanted to do this podcast topic is to make me prepare my goals that I've actually more structured, so that if I wasn't to do this, I don't know if I would have done it. But
yeah. I think the problem with me in the past, I have set hugely ambitious goals and about 26 of them.
Did you plant 1 million trees last year like you said you were going to?
I thought you might ask me that. Not 1 million, a few thousand.
Yeah.
And that I kind of set myself up for failure. I think I'm getting to know myself a bit better. And I know that I've got a lot of things going on in my life, great things, but I take on loads of things and get overwhelmed, and things I have to let things go. So I think I'm being a bit kinder to myself this year and thinking keep it simpler and not overwhelm myself and then fail at everything.
I think that's a really good point for the listeners as well, that there's no wrong or right way of doing this. Because you always see on social, there's these gurus and stuff and coaches you gotta do this and do that and then have a morning routine and do all this.
7 health goals, and you've got to get up at 5:30. You've got to have 3 life goals and 2 humour goals.
Yeah. Whereas
girls,
that's
I don't know.
What are they?
I love funny women.
That's quite overwhelming, I think.
Yeah.
And I think I've fallen into trap before, thinking I've got to do all that stuff. But this year I think I've tried to have some structure. But
nice. Can I tell you my fairly unplanned, unstructured, and low number of goals, and maybe that some of the audience might relate to me, and then we can go into maybe
how I've done mine, and
how you've done yours, and and then everyone goes, oh my god, Dan's so impressive. Oh, he's got his shit together.
Go on then, Lloyd.
Okay,
I'm intrigued to hear what on earth you've done.
Okay, so I've, like I said, trying to keep it really simple this year. Because when I said last year, one of mine was plant 1 million trees, and I had absolutely no idea how I would do that.
And didn't do anything about it.
And, I would have to have hundreds of thousands of pounds to do it.
Funnily enough,
you
didn't achieve that one.
I didn't achieve it. But I've got lots of things I want to achieve, but my main goals are...
This is for this year, right? 2022?
2022.
Okay.
New year, new me. Live, laugh, love.
Get that.
Sorry, I'm
stenciled on your
just
kitchen
naming
wall.
all of the posters that are in Matalan. So firstly, exercise 3 times a week for 30 minutes.
Oh, I like that. Well done.
So previously, just all my health goals have been
become a bodybuilder.
Climb Mount Kilimanjaro and exercise 12 times a week. for 2 hours. And then I'm like, oh, that means I can't work because I have to train full time. And then I fail.
Become PT.
So I think, to be honest, the last decade I've set unrealistic. I think on their own they'd be realistic. So things like exercise every day. If that was all I focused on for the year, I could do that. But when I've got like business goals and I've got family and I'm doing up a house and all this stuff, so I just want to start with 3 times a week, 30 minutes. I think that's achievable.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you after, by the way, how you came up with this process, because I think that would be useful as well. But carry on as you were.
Okay.
So that's
and my
your health
second one. So they say, have SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic,
timed.
Right. I said them after you because I didn't remember them all.
Are yours none of those things?
Well, I think that first one, I think it is, because it's like every week, do this, you can measure it, it's realistic, all that stuff. My second one is a bit where it gets a bit messy.
Measurable.
You might say to me,
measurable. You can measure exercising 3 times a week. 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, I'm saying my second goal I haven't mentioned yet.
Oh, sorry.
So this is where you might have to say to me, come on, Lloyd, get your shit together.
Yeah, go on.
That's not. So it is to. It's so messy. I don't even know how to say it. To spend my time in a way that is better for me. So that's hugely vague and not measurable. But
that's a good vague
as an example. So currently, I think a big issue with me is I try and do everything and say yes to everyone. And I then don't prioritize things that actually make me happy and healthy. So as much as I still want to help other people and do things that I want to do. I want to like say no to more stuff and focus on things that are going to be best for me.
And that will make you happier and make you be able to help more people because you've focused on yourself. But like when you're in an airplane, it's going to crash and they say, put your own oxygen mask on first.
Yeah. But that's not, so that's part of it is like, I do things for other people and I take other things on.
Such a good person.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely not the whole picture. That's part of it. The other half of it is like, when I do have time, I'm not using it in ways that are best for me. So I'm like, I've got an hour this evening to just think about me, do whatever I want. Or I'll scroll on TikTok for 45 minutes and then for 15 minutes I'll think about how rubbish I am as a person.
What's that?
I don't do that most days. Whereas I want to be like actually thinking, right, that's an hour I could be playing with Leo.
Playing squash with me?
Have a great time. I could be playing squash with Dan and getting some good exercise and really enjoying it. I could be reading a book and learning about stuff that I want to learn about, or just reading a book for pleasure and getting to the end of it and thinking,
that was
I
really
enjoyed that hour. Rather than just like,
aimlessly
I saw
scrolling.
some girls dancing on TikTok and some random men talking about farming. That's what the algorithm gives me. I must like those things.
Girls dancing and farmers.
So that's. But like I said, I think that second one, it's not one of those SMART goals at the moment where I'm like, this is specific, and
I think that's only going to be beneficial. That focusing on that. I guess it's the thing of like actually making it happen. How are you going to rather than just saying on this podcast and not doing anything about it? Like, I guess we need to be trying to remind ourselves. How are you going to make sure? Like, have you printed it on and stuck it on your desk like me?
No. Okay. Well, can we go into yours then and find out? Because obviously we could just say how rubbish I am at that.
Oh no, sorry. Before we do that?
Yeah.
Quickly, what was your process of figuring that out? Did you like sit there and just self-reflect and think, what do I want to try and focus on this year, or just so that listeners can actually get some? There is a process. I thought I was just rubbish, but I heard this from somewhere and I did it. It's fairly simple. I imagined myself in a year and how I want to be, and like what I would think if I've had a great year. Like what would I be like in like December? And then I kind of thought, well, what has changed? And my main thing in my mind is like I'm exercising regularly, and I'm really enjoying how I'm using my time, and I'm like reading the books that I keep being like, I want to read that, and doing the things I want to. And then I worked my way back and was kind of like, well, what do I need to do? And it came down to those two things of I just need to actually exercise and spend my time
more wisely when I have the
Yeah.
time. So, Dan, we want to hear your goals
So,
now.
and also, just a caveat, Lloyd's been really busy on a shoot, and I did my prep quite late, so I've had a lot of time to prep all my goals and stuff. So I'm not better than you.
Well,
I've just had more time.
Some would say I've had a full year to prep my goals for 2022, Dan.
Okay. So, firstly, my kind of approach. So I thought about key pillars in my life that I wanted to create some goals around. And then once I had those pillars, I then thought underneath each of them, what do I want to achieve in 2022? And then the second part for each of those is, how do I measure that?
Okay.
Because just saying, oh, I want to spend my time more effectively and not having a way to measure it probably isn't going to...
Setting yourself up for a failure there, isn't it?
Yeah. And also, I know that this quite detailed plan, like, I may not achieve it, but it's to stretch goals, but I'm going to focus on trying to. So,
do you think you should start out by saying you may not achieve it?
No, but no, I don't mean that. No, I'm going to aim to achieve these, but if I was to easily achieve all of these, they're not ambitious enough.
Okay.
Basically, that's my
Cool.
reasoning. I'm not
Cool.
not just, oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's hear them then.
So, firstly, the themes: business goals, health and fitness goals, family goals, and then charity goals, which are inspired by you.
Oh.
So, my business goals, 2 bullet points, 2 goals really. Firstly, and I'll read out how I've written it as if I've done it, because I remember Dad telling us once that that's the way to do it, and it.
Oh, I remember growing up when Dad was probably in his...
positive affirmations in the mirror.
Dad probably would have been in his 30s, like
I am
the
a-
age we are now.
I'm a
In the
successful
mirror, I remember him
businessman.
combing his hair back when he had hair. He doesn't have hair anymore. I am a successful something, or something like that, wasn't it? Like, I believe in myself. I am ready for the day.
It sounds like you're taking the piss, but this is actually 100% true.
Yeah. By the way, Dad, great thing to do. It's
Yeah,
just a funny childhood moment. Firstly, of you brushing your hair on the top of your head, because that's gone, isn't it? And secondly, that you were setting goals like this.
Talking to yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
And also something else I learned from Dad. He always wrote down his goals and printed them and stuck them somewhere he could see them every day.
Yeah.
He used to have it on the inside of like his mirror in the bathroom. Don't you remember that? And then he did it in his office. But
Yeah.
anyway,
I'm a positive, independent woman.
we digress.
Yeah.
So my 2 business goals. First one, I have revised the 2030 plan with Lloyd and have delivered on my responsibilities to achieve the targets set out in 2022. So for those who don't know, we've got this 2030 plan, which was a 10-year plan we created in 2019.
Yep.
Basically, very specific revenue targets, what we want the team to look like, broken down into...
Do you know that for our avid listeners, the 2030 plan is one of the Business Anchors bingo terms that they cross
Is
off?
it?
Yeah, because we mention it a lot. I don't think we have much in recent episodes, though.
Okay, I won't go on about it then, but it's basically a long-term business plan. But we haven't revised it this year, and things have changed. So I've actually, don't know if you've seen the calendar, I've scheduled us time to look through this in an afternoon in January.
Great.
So that's the first one. The second one is, I have supported Knowlton to produce the best work and results for our clients we have ever produced. I think this year we've discussed this. We're both really excited to focus heavily on producing wicked client work, which we have been focused on before, but I want to make it more of
Better
a focus.
than ever.
So that, because we set some quite high benchmarks last year with some of the campaigns we did and the results, like generating millions of pounds of revenue and stuff.
Yeah.
And doing a TV ad and stuff. So this year I want us to...
And growing as a business, we grew quite quickly from a very small business to still a small business, but much bigger and more stuff going on. I think big focus this year, less on perhaps like growing into less ambitious growing in terms of perhaps financially or people working for us, but growing the standard of the work we're doing and our
because
I
long
think
term
is-
that's going to help us achieve the 2030 plan sooner as well, because we're going to...
we don't just want to get big and
No.
make loads of money. We want to do brilliant
Great
work.
Yeah. So in terms of how I'm going to measure that, so firstly, for the 2030 plan, how are we going to measure that I'm doing my bit? So firstly, our weekly meeting, the scorecard. We discussed this in a recent episode about the Entrepreneur's Operating System, a new way that we manage the business, which you should listen to if you haven't listened to. But we do a weekly meeting where we have certain metrics we need to be hitting. And from my perspective, it's to do with sales and marketing for our business. So that's one way we're going to track it. Secondly, our monthly planning meeting, I'm going to add on our agenda to discuss where are we with our 2030 plan. And then secondly, how am I going to ensure that Knowlton are producing the best work possible? I'm going to make a conscious effort to ensure I'm involved in as many as possible concept development and strategy sessions for clients, so that I think I've got some good ideas that I can input into that at that stage, and then all of our amazing team can then go on to actually do all the work to make it happen.
Nice.
Yeah, that's my 2 goals there.
Great. Very good business goals.
Yeah.
And yes, I think the listeners can see, I'm hoping the listeners will either relate to me or you, as in, I am so good at this and I've structured everything in a way that's going to make sure I do this, or I'm a terrible person.
No, but you're good. You achieve lots of great things as well. So
thanks.
Your way and my way. This is why there's no right or wrong way of doing this.
Your way sounds right, though.
No. So, do you want to hear my health and fitness goals?
I would love to hear those goals. Dan.
I've got 4 actually, and one of them's quite interesting. You may be interested in. So,
okay. Hopefully, because we're on a podcast.
Yes. I've gone to the gym 4+ times per week and hit PBs in all core exercises. I've played squash at least once per week, and that's probably with you. I know we say we're going to play twice, but yeah, I'm saying at least once per week, but we're scheduled to play twice. Third one, I've given up drinking for at least 3 months of the year.
3
times.
separate months?
No, 3 separate months.
Okay, cool.
Okay. This is the first month I'm doing dry Jan. And the next one, I continue to do a healthy food shop every week and eat healthily.
Nice. Very good. So, alcohol. I'm intrigued. Why do you want to cut it out for 3 full months?
I don't know where the 3 months came from. I think I've only ever probably done a max of 2 months in a year, or maybe less than that, probably. Maybe 1.5. But I think I just feel better when I don't drink. But I like the social element of drinking, and I enjoy it. But if I actively say not drinking for... I think
that's interesting. It's not one of my formal goals, but I plan to have a goal of reducing alcohol consumption. I think you saying like, I don't think I've done more than 2 months. I don't think I've gone more than a fortnight without alcohol.
Oh no, I meant 2 times 1 month in a year. I definitely haven't gone more than a month.
But I don't think I've gone more than 2 weeks without alcohol since I was 16.
Yeah, which is mental.
And I'm double that age now.
But like Leandro, my friend, he last year he did like 4 months, just didn't drink. Yeah, and it's totally possible. And
do you know what switched for me this year? So you said like, enjoy the social aspects of it and stuff like that. What switched for me this year is I don't even get much out of that anymore. So
the environment of everyone's wasted. Like, ooh.
No, like so. Like thinking about it, so I drink alcohol every week in some way. Usually, some weeks I might not, but I think that'd be rare.
Yeah.
And when I try and think of like what positives, like why do I do it?
Yeah.
What are the positives?
Yeah.
I can't think of any.
Yeah. So that's a sign.
So I think it's just habit and addiction. Because I don't think many people like. I'm not saying like I definitely don't feel I'm an alcoholic or I have a serious problem. But I think some people get scared to say like, I'm addicted to alcohol because they think, I've got a problem. But I think in reality,
most people, if you're drinking every week,
a lot of people are. And if I've been drinking almost every week for 16 years, there's definitely an element of addiction in that.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason why on a Friday I go, should probably have a beer. It's not just me thinking,
Who's telling
I
you that?
really want to do that. I think it's partly habit and partly the actual addiction side of it. So yeah, interesting.
Cool. So how am I going to measure that? Because the measurement thing, I think this is important. So if anyone's, I was about to ask people if they were, but I realised no one can reply to me. But the gym, and it's called the gym.
Yes.
It's a brand of gym chains called The Gym.
Oh, right.
Which I'm part of.
Yeah.
Which I'm on the app. It's got some really good data that shows you how often you've been, how much time you spent in there, and that kind of thing. Right. So I'm going to, at the end of the year, I can look at that to see an average of how many times I've gone throughout the year.
Do you know last year's data?
I tell you what, I got it. I think it was 149, but there was lockdowns.
Right.
So that would average at about 3 times a week, I think. Is that right? 365 days a year.
Less than that.
Less than that.
Dan, yeah.
But no, but there were lockdowns and
Yeah.
things.
But there were excuses.
Whatever. And then in terms of us playing squash, me playing squash once a week, I was thinking how to log it because the squash club, it hasn't got a way of looking at how many times you've been or anything, has it? Or has it?
How to log it? It's in our calendar.
It's in our calendar, yeah. Cool. So I'll check. I was going to log it on my phone, but I thought that's too much. The non-drinking thing is just sort of me knowing that I've done that because I can
ask your liver every so often.
ask my liver every so
How are you
often.
feeling?
And then myself with the healthy food shops as well. So
Nice. Very good, Dan. Good health goals.
yeah.
I think they're all good. Do you? So my thing this year was having less goals because I realised I kind of overwhelmed myself and then failed at things.
Sounds like I'm overwhelming myself.
I'm genuinely asking because that's how I've realised I am. I think you're probably better at having lots of different things going on and dealing with it mentally. But do you feel maybe there's too many? Or
I tell you what, I said earlier, I don't know if I'm going to achieve them. I think if I just had one theme of goals, my goals could be bigger.
Right.
So if my focus was just health and fitness, I reckon I could, if I really was focused on it, could do 6 months not drinking.
So you've got
or like,
a larger number of more realistic goals,
yeah,
rather than
in different,
a smaller number of extremely ambitious goals, like plant a million trees that you can't afford to do.
Yeah, but again, we'll get to it. I think it'll probably be good to do a review of this next year and see how we did.
Yeah,
let's remember to do that.
Okay, cut to the clip. Cut to the.
No,
we'll have to do that at the end of the year. Okay, right. Yeah. I'll click. I'll click in 12 months.
Yeah,
cool. Okay.
Okay, so my family goals are almost there. Just second to last one, family goals. So family in terms of Christelle and my son. And
right, is that how family works? Interesting. Because I thought,
shut up.
I thought you meant your colleagues. Right. Okay.
So I actually asked Christelle what my goals should be because she's a better judge than me thinking what's right.
And after she said about improving your sexual performance, what did she go on to say?
She said, so after that, she said, book at least one date night a month.
Right.
I'm such a prick.
Sorry, I really made myself laugh there.
So one date night per month, at least one family day out, a weekend away per month. I've not gotten home later than 6 p.m. on a weekday, and I help around the house more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you actually asked Christelle what's important to her to try and set your goals.
Yeah.
Like, did you ask Brody?
He probably wouldn't understand. He's only 2 and a bit, so
right. So he might just be like,
he's starting to get,
and then
he's starting to fit words together though.
Right.
In kind of, he says 2 red cars.
Two
But if I said, Brody, what goal should I set for this year with you? Because I'm kind of trying to figure it out on how to make you happier.
And he says, red car.
Yeah.
And you'd have to buy a
more
red
cars
car.
probably. He's obsessed with cars. So.
Okay. All right. But you're prioritising what Christelle wants over your son.
You're horrible to me.
Sorry. No. I'm just comments. No, I think that sounds really good. I in reality, I admire that you asked Christelle because my goals, I think, are very selfish to do with me this year. But yeah, very good.
How am I going to measure it? I'm going to look back at the calendar to see what date nights I've got, and I'm going to schedule once a month to remind me to say to Christelle, "Let's do a date night." Family days out do the same, and the other things like about getting home and helping around the house. I'm going to ask Christelle in December if I've achieved that.
Okay.
And like along the way.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So you're not going to know if you got back before 6?
No.
Do you need help telling the time?
No. Okay. I'm kind of accountable to myself for that.
But you'll also check.
But I'll just check with her just to check I'm not lying to myself.
You've been a good little boy. Okay. Cool. Okay. Okay. Great.
Final one, charity goals.
I'm intrigued to hear
I
goals.
I don't know if... Oh, sorry. Holding the paper up. Pat just told me off for holding the paper up and I've done it again. Sorry, Pat. So charity goals is... I don't know if this is too unambitious, but I've said I've organised and taken part in some kind of charity event or charity challenge to raise £1,000.
I don't think that's too... I think that's great. And that'll hopefully... I'll try and cling on to you with that and I'll achieve
just
that
do
too.
it.
Yeah. Great. I'd be up for joining.
I might be up. You know, you did that 100-kilometer walk.
Yep.
I don't know if you'd want to do that again though, would you?
Yeah, I would love to do that.
Okay.
again.
Well, I'm potentially thinking something like that
Great.
because it's
I think
a challenge, and
I've got some
get
friends
some
that
good
will be up
donations.
for doing that too.
Yeah.
So I think we could get a group of us.
Cool. I was going to ask you loads of detailed questions that the listeners won't care about, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But that is my that's
Great.
my stuff.
Great. So, yes, very different way of doing our goals. So I guess listeners might be, things listeners can take from our goals, I would say, is a good thing between us. I think working out what's best for you and not just like, oh, this guy's saying you have to do goals like this, you have to do it. Like my priority this year is I've previously overwhelmed myself and then made it a negative thing for me with my mental health and my life in general because I kind of take too much on
and then don't
fail at
achieve
80% of it to go, oh, okay, I'll give up. So I've focused on making it simple and have less goals, whereas you've been very structured. You're really specific in the ways you're going to measure and like you said, more goals that are potentially less ambitious for you than they would if you had.
And some people just set one goal.
Yeah.
This year I'm going to get healthy by, or this year I'm going to get a job that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Or
because I think I've got loads more things I want to achieve this year than my goals, but I guess they're what I want to make sure I'm focused on. And there's things that come off of that, like the spending my time more wisely for myself. Like I want to read a lot more, and I know that part of that goal is I'm going to be reading more books. And I was thinking of going, I'm going to read 52 books, but I thought,
no, don't do that.
I'm not bothered about that. I'm going to read more. I already am enjoying it more. And the health thing, I'm going to exercise 3 times a week. That probably also means I'll get better at squash, but I'm not going to set a goal of like, I'm going to be beat Dan at squash 5 times a week.
I also think Biz Paul from Marketed Live fame did a really good LinkedIn or Insta post the other day that was basically saying, this year my goals are to, I'm not going to set like massive goals. I just want to try and get my life back to normal because we've been in a pandemic. And I quite like that. Like, I don't think everyone, again, like there's no wrong or right way of doing this. Everyone should be sitting there thinking, setting these hugely ambitious goals. Maybe your goal is to just get happy or to like be a good parent or to like, I don't know, be a good partner. Or
I think balance is really key. So like between us, we've set goals in different ways because it's kind of like, where are we in our lives? How are we feeling? What's the balance? Do we want to be hugely ambitious? And this year I know I've got the time or the energy or what I need to set these massive goals. Or is it like, I've really gone hard last year and I do need to focus a bit more on being kind to myself and make sure
it's being self-aware, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's trying to be self-aware and understand where you sit in that.
Yeah, and I think
and not compare yourself to other people.
Basing it on happiness of actually like, will I be happier if I set this one goal and achieve it at the end of the year? Or will I be happier if I set 24 hugely ambitious goals and really go for it? And I think if you base it on what will actually make you and your loved ones happiest, I think that's a good way to go. And that might be just trying to get your life back to normal rather than achieving greatness this year.
I haven't actually read it, but you read a book called Atomic Habits, and I remember having a conversation with you, and you shared some really interesting tips around habits, and I was just thinking, because we're in goal setting mode, or like, you said something about like little habits.
I think should definitely be on people's reading lists if they're setting goals for this year or want to change anything. But I can't remember the author's name, but
Lloyd set a goal of reading the book but didn't.
No, I didn't. I did read the book, but I really don't. I do a disservice to the author because I basically summarize the whole book into one thing. Yeah. And there's far more. But I summarize it into put your clothes out the night before you want to exercise and get into that habit. And that then makes you exercise and then you're really fit. There's like so much more around it. But that's basically what I always remember about it. And it's the main thing. But it's like
doing
start
little
with
habits.
a tiny habit of like literally get your gym shoes out and put them next to your bed each night. That's very achievable. And you're like, I can do that. Yeah, put them there.
Or just like buy a pack of cigarettes and just start a habit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, not bad habits, good habits.
Oh, good habits. Yeah.
And then it just makes it easier for all of those habits to build and build and build. So I've put my shoes there. Oh, I may as well put them on. Get in the habit of putting them on.
Yeah.
Then you get in the habit of exercising twice a week, and then it's like, well, I'm here twice a week. It's on my way to work. I may as well do this.
I unknowingly do this stuff. Like I get my gym bag ready, and the days that I don't, it's subconsciously telling myself I'm not going to the gym the next day. So I always get my gym bag ready. So it's all there nicely ready to.
Yeah. So yeah, it's there's far more to the book, and it's a really good book. But that is the key thing. Like,
put your clothes out.
There's tiny achievable things you can just go. My brain is not capable right now of thinking I'm going to exercise every day this week and planning it all out. But if I pack my gym bag and put it next to my bed ready, there's much bigger chance that I'm going to pick it up in the morning rather than.
What about accountability? Do you think accountability is important? Are you accountable to anyone?
I'm not very good at this. I don't think I'm great with this.
Okay.
I keep most of the stuff in my own head, and I'm like, yeah, I'll make myself do that. And then you kind of go, you plant those million trees last year, and I didn't.
I think we keep each other accountable, though.
With each other, I think we do. But yeah, I think it's important, but I'm not very good at it. I keep things to myself. What about you?
A few things. Like, I think with business stuff, I think you keep me accountable every week in our meetings and asking me the right questions to know that I'm doing the stuff I need to, and constantly questioning me. Remember when you questioned me so much, saying that you didn't think this podcast was working and we were going to change it, and then it just.
God, he mentions that every few episodes, doesn't he? One time I said something. I just asked a question.
No.
Do you think it's good we continue the podcast?
I know, I'm joking, but no, you keep me that accountable. I go to the gym with a guy called Alan who keeps me accountable in the gym.
Great.
I guess Christelle keeps me accountable for being a good fiance. But other than that, I don't we haven't got like coaches or, some people pay someone to sort of.
Yeah. Some people like to spend money because it makes.
And we've done that with clients before. I've, for example, Gemology Rocks, who's a client we work with. We did some coaching stuff with her, and
so you were asking those questions.
Have you done the things we said you were going to do?
Yeah. Okay. So Dan, to summarise this conversation, because we've been speaking a while on these goals.
I think these seats are so comfy that you end up talking more as well.
Yeah, I think so. There's a danger of that. There certainly is.
To summarise, what can Business Anchors listeners be doing to make them achieve what they want to this year, do you think? I think if you could take one thing away, I'd say however you want to decide what your goals are, a combination of Lloyd's sort of just in your head approach and more sort of laid back, or my more structured, think of at least one goal and write it down and stick it somewhere that you're going to see it. And I think even it's its most basic level, if you just think of one goal you want to achieve and write it down and stick it somewhere, that alone, because you're going to see it every day and you're going to...
You have to actively take that down if you don't want to see it every day.
Yeah.
I think that's the good thing. Like, you have to choose not to make that something that is going to be a priority.
And a second takeaway, look in the mirror and do positive affirmations like our dad did. Combing your hair back. I am a successful businessman. A woman.
I can't remember what he said. I'm making up those things. Like, but he definitely said.
We should try and find that list. And
do you remember? I even remember the way he did that with his hair, and then the comb quick over like that.
And he also remember his ear thing.
Yeah. We should probably talk about this after the podcast, Dan. The way Dad wiggles his finger in his ear. But thank you, Business Anchors, for listening. Viewers of the podcast will already know that we're in our brand new Year, New Me podcast set.
How do you describe it, Lloyd, to the listeners?
I would describe it as an old-fashioned gentleman's lounge. I feel like we should have cigars or like cigarettes with little handles, and it should be smoky, and we should be drinking whiskey. Yeah. Not this year though, because we're drinking.
No, dry down.
And we shouldn't start a habit of smoking just to fit the set, probably. And that would go against the whole conversation.
Yeah.
But if you are listening, then head over to YouTube and our social media places, and you can probably find it to watch as well.
Another great into the podcast, Lloyd.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at the outros. Next week, what are we talking about, Dan?
we're talking about social media trends in 2022. And there's some really interesting insights from a very comprehensive report that we were part of.
Oh, so a bit more marketing-y, a bit more businessy, a bit more social media-y next week.
Say email.
E.
See you next week.
E.